Hi, I'm Sangeet, co-founder and CEO of Addverb Technology.
India has a long legacy of exporting software to the world. Companies like Infosys, Wipro, TCS are the giants in this field, created on the back of this industry. The most inspiring thing which I see now is that Indian founders are daring to export hardware to the world. And a perfect example of this is Adverb, which is spelled as Addverb. Adverb is exporting robotic solutions to the world. They help companies to automate factory or warehouse operations through a whole suite of robots. And the most inspiring thing about them is that they are going out and beating large legacy foreign players, Japanese, European players, and winning deals. Adverb is one of the best funded companies in this field, and they've raised more than $65 million from the likes of Reliance and others. I hope you are as inspired after listening to Sangeet narrate the story of building Adverb as I was. I'm Akshay, and this is the founder thesis.
Let's start with a little bit of your background. You are running robotic automation company. What got you into the field of robotics and automation? What was your first exposure to robotics and automation? Just take me through your career graph and how you discovered this field.
Okay. So I'm a chemical engineer. And it is a bit odd that a chemical engineer got into robotics, but uh, uh, I started my career after completing my engineering in GAIL India Limited, which was a refinery LPG recovery plant. And there I worked for almost 2 years. And what I got interested while I was working there was the control systems, the instrumentation, and how these things make magic in a distillation column, or how do you produce LPG by sitting in a control room. So that was of interest. And then I moved to Asian Paint, and in Asian Paints, I started my career as a production person, so looking after paint production, etc. And because of the interest and the my Xbox saw that I was good at projects, so I was moved to projects. And when you start looking after projects, building factories, etc., you don't remain a chemical engineer or a civil engineer. You have to learn all the all engineering which goes into building a factory. So I became a civil engineer, a mechanical, electrical, um, controls engineer. And this is the time when Asian Paints was also changing. And we used to, before 2004, 2005, we had this concept of minimum adequate design. Later on, we used to make fun of it, and it was mad. But that is when, in fact, even today, there are many companies in India which is going into this phase or changing from the phase of minimum adequate design to world class design.
What
And
is
for
this minimum adequate design? Is a like a philosophy?
it is a philosophy wherein you invest on mostly you invest only on those equipments or those processes which gives you value. And at that time, the definition of value was which gives you product by investing the minimum. So that is what is minimum adequate design. And we were uh, moving from that minimum adequate design to be the best in terms of controlling the losses, to be the best in terms of uh, uh, rupees spent per liter of paint production, etc. And that journey meant that we see this whole production in a different light. And that is when we started visiting factories, paint factories across the world, started learning from them, and why someone invested in a certain type of equipment, what benefit they got out of that equipment. And that was our journey of being world class. And during this time, we decided to put world's largest factory of paint. So the second world largest was 250 million liters. We wanted to put 400 million liters of paint per year. And that is when, again, we visited a lot of paint companies, and we realized there is no paint company in the world which had volume like that. As I was saying, the second biggest was in US by Sherwin-Williams. And so then we said, we will not look at paint factory. We will look at those sectors where there is volume. And mostly in our manufacturing setup, it was beverage industry. So whether it is Coca-Cola, PepsiCo, all those kind of soft beverage or hard beverage, whether it is beer, whiskey, etc. We visited many of these factories, and these factories produced 1 lakh bottles per hour. And when you see that, you don't see the bottles moving. It is amazing to see. You cannot see it by your bare eyes. And so we learned a lot during these visits. And on the warehouse front, we also saw the volume was mostly in retail, large retailers, uh, whether it is Walmart, whether it is in Germany, it was Roseman. We visited a lot of them, and we said, okay, these are the companies which had volumes and where the dispatches of cases or items or pallets was huge. In a day, they were dispatching 100 trucks, 200 trucks, and that is what we also had to do from our factory, this large factory of ours, which we were imagining at that time. And during these visits, we saw a lot of robots getting utilized for their processes. And the concept of the dirty job getting, uh, so dirty job being given to robots to perform was was practiced a lot in Europe and US. So we learned all these things. And before setting up this world's largest factory, we wanted to experiment on all these technologies in our older factory. And that is where I was head of engineering at that point of time. And we started experimenting on robots. And that is when you see robots, even when in our visits in Europe and in US, we used to stand there for 15, 20 minutes, half an hour, whatever time we got, and see the robot moving. And when you see it in action, it is a treat to watch. And it is like orchestra being played or music in symphony, wherein work is getting done, whether it is lifting, whether it is palletization, whether it is packing. Uh, it gets done by these articulated robots in a rhythm and at a speed which is unimaginable by a human. And that
What do you mean by articulated robots?
Okay, so there are several kinds of robots. One of them is articulated, which is these robots have 6 axes, like your hand. They have 6 axes. You can move your hand at different joints. So these robots also have different joints. So the robot starts with 3 axes, and the highest number of axes a robot has, in the articulated robot family is 7 axes. So when the robots also starts moving on the 7th axis, otherwise it is stationary with all the joints moving. So this is and most of the when you talk about industrial robot, the first robot which people imagine is articulated robot. There are several other kinds of robots. So when you talk to a common man, when someone speaks about robot, it is humanoid. It is a robot which looks like human, which walks, and so it is a bipedal robot with two legs, etc. But in industry, when you talk about robot, it is mostly six-axis robot. These are the robots which gets used in for welding in a car company, or for press fitting, or for picking, for or several kinds of jobs. So
Even the paint shop is
yeah,
also
even the
robotic
paint
arms.
shop. Yeah, this is the kind of robot that gets used. So we put this first robot in our factory. This was the first time we were using it for palletization application in India. And I remember one of our senior leadership saying that if it works anywhere in the world, it will work in India as well. And his confidence and our youth at that time, we said, okay, we will make it work. And we tried for the first time, and we did fail in our first attempt, but then we
Uh,
saw,
Can you give me a little bit more detail? What do you mean by
yes,
palletization? You said this robot was for palletization. What was it
yeah,
doing
so
exactly?
yeah, I'm sorry. When you see, there is a paint bucket, and 20-liter paint bucket. You would have seen Asian paint bucket getting used for various applications. People carry water, truck drivers use it for cleaning their trucks and whatnot. So this 20-liter bucket, when it is having paint, it weighs around 30 kg. And for human being to, so what you need to do is, once the paint is filled and the cap is put on this 20 kg, 20-liter paint, you have to lift this 30 kg bucket and place it on a pallet. So pallet is something which you use for storage of this material, or uh, carrying this material from one place to another. Typically, it is
Like a crate,
1.2 meter by 1 meter wooden thing.
crate type of.
Yeah,
Okay.
it is. Crate is small. Usually it is 600 by 400. This is pallet. It is open from the sides. So you have 16 of these containers put, if it is 20-liter, so 16 containers, which makes 320 liters of paint, and around that so every time a person picks and puts it on a pallet, and we did this internal study where we realized that a person, if he keeps on doing for 8 hours for 5 years, 6 years, he starts to have this backache problem. And at that time, Asian Paints has been a very progressive organization in that sense. And higher management at that time decided we want to create job which does not create health problem for our people. And that is where the robots we started experimenting on. So the robot had to pick this 20-liter bucket, and the speed of the machine was huge. Therefore, the robot had to pick four buckets at the same time, and then place it on a pallet. So pick it from a packaging machine and place it on a pallet. That is known as palletization. And we did so what happened is, when we started picking, there were handles in the bucket which used to interfere, and therefore the robot was not able to pick. And even the picking was with a vacuum, so sometimes the lid used to open, and so these were some of the problems which we faced in our first implementation. And while we solved those problems, yeah, it took time. It took 6 months, 8 months, but I got fascinated with robotics as such, and we learned a lot in the process. So that was my entry into
What
this
were the
space.
how did you solve the problems? Like you said,
Yeah,
the
so
vacuum would cause
we
the lift
had
to
a
come up.
different type of mechanism. So it was a mechanical and vacuum system put together. And for the handle interference, we had a rotation mechanism before it went to this matrix forming conveyor. So this is something which we did, and then once it was successful, we had to do it at a scale at our Rohtak factory, which was the world's largest factory at that time. Yeah, and we did lot of things, not only in robotics in packaging system, but in our warehouses. We had experimented on ASRS earlier, but fully integrated from packaging to packaging. So empty containers, you put it into a fully automated ASRS system. From there,
What
whenever
is
you
ASRS?
yeah, ASRS is automated storage and retrieval system. These are different kind of robots which runs on cranes, and it can go up to 30-meter high, which is around 100 feet. Uh, you can imagine a 10-story building, and if you can store your items in this 10-story building, and you can get the material out with these robots from that 10-story building.
This
And
would be like a forklift which can go up and down and roll
forklift,
there.
yes, yes, but there are two different major difference. One, you need a person to drive the forklift. Here, there is no person, and the forklift operator gets the instruction on what to bring, either on a paper or on a computer screen, which is in front of the forklift operator. Here, from your ERP software or from your SAP software, you directly, whatever is required by the customer, you tell it to the screens, and that communication happens, and the screen brings it automatically. There is no person control. The second difference is the forklift forklift can go up to 6 meter high or 7 meter high. Reach truck, which is a different kind of forklift, can go up to 10-meter high. But these equipments, these robots which run on rail and runs at a very high speed, it can go up to 30-meter, 40-meter, and there are instances where it goes up to 50-meter, which is 150 feet. And so you can store, the cubic utilization is huge in this system. When in India and even outside India, 30 years back, 25 years back, people used to talk in square feet or square meter. So how much square meter you have for storage? But because the assumption was the building height will always be 10 meter, 12 meters. So the square feet is what mattered, because beyond 12 meter anyway, you cannot go and get the material or store the material. But when these robots started coming, then people started talking about cubic feet. So it was not only square feet. So uh, typically in a warehouse, you can store 1.1 pallet per square meter. Okay. Rule of thumb, where you are storing it by forklift and rack. But with automation systems, you can store 6 pallet, 8 pallet per square meter. So that is the efficiency, space efficiency, which you get with these technologies. And so we implemented these technologies at Rohtak plant, and my interest, and while evaluating, we again evaluated several European players, American players, Japanese players. We learned a lot during this exercise, and while implementation, automated system running in Europe and the automated system running in India is two different things, which we realized while implementing and while taking care of this. One, in Europe, you don't have this kind of dust, this kind of heat, and this kind of that is the major differentiator in terms of environment, the humidity, etc. Uh, Dust, dust is the biggest enemy of automation system, and in India, you have dust everywhere. India is a country which is under construction for last 20 years, and it will continue to be so because we are building infrastructure, we have been very behind in terms of building infrastructure, building factories, etc. So there will be construction which would be happening, and because of the climate, weather condition or temperate climate, and we don't have paved roads or we don't have grasses everywhere, so dust will be there in the end. So that was one big learning for us while implementing this. Second is even our culture, wherein typically equipment is abused more by lack of the understanding of these equipments, or sometimes it is ignorance, sometimes it is also intentional, and therefore all these equipments have to be designed in a particular way, or the processes have to be designed in a particular. We realized very soon that we knew after putting up this factory at Rohtak, which was world class, which remains world class even today. This was put in 2010. So we realized very soon that putting these factories is 40% of the work done, getting all these high-tech equipments, high-tech robots from Europe, etc. Maintaining and managing it is the rest 60%, which meant changes in the way we work, changes in the processes, understanding that equipments are susceptible to certain kind of problem, and therefore you have to maintain it. Typically, even when we buy a car, uh, we most of the people, and I would not generalize it, but 70-80% of the people don't get don't send their car to workshop when it is when it has to be sent. Maybe in the first 2 years when it is new, people rigorously follow it, but after that it is not in our culture, or uh, we take it very lightly. A car is a very robust equipment. Industrial equipments are not that robust, and 100 years of uh, uh, R&D has not gone into industrial equipment, a robot. 100 years of R&D has gone into cars, and that too with so many different companies. So whatever Volkswagen or Mercedes or Audi has done, same thing, Suzuki, etc., have learned from their mistakes and from their learnings, and further added more R&D into it to build these robust machines. In robotic space or in industrial equipment space, it is not like so. You need to maintain it, and that was another big learning. We spent a lot of time in having the maintenance system in place, which allowed us to get the fruits of these equipments consistently year on year. So that was the start of my journey and my interest into automation and robotics. And then, I was made the factory manager there. at Rohtak in 2010, which is when we put all these processes, systems, maintenance systems, etc. And Asian Paints had to put up world's largest factory every third year, beating its own record. So,
Wow.
I then got involved in those factories,
So
blueprint,
this Rohtak was 500 million liters, you told me, which was the
400
next?
million liters
400
at
million
that time.
liters. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
400 million liters, the blueprint. The first phase was 150 million liters. It was expanded to 200 million liters and from 200 to 400 million liters. So I was there during all these phases of the factory. And then we were also setting up other factories like Dala, etc. So that is how I learned robotics, and I got interested into robotics. Yeah.
You focused a lot on the warehouse utilization of robotics instead of the factory utilization of robotics. Why is that? As a
Okay.
layperson, when we think of robotics, we generally visualize, for example, a car factory which has those robotic arms doing things. We don't generally visualize warehouse robotics inside warehouse, but you have a bigger emphasis on warehouse robotics. What is the reason? And I
So
believe Adverb also has a focus on
yeah.
warehouse robotics, right? So
Yes.
help me
Yes.
understand that. Yeah.
Yeah. So when we started the company, so before starting the company as well, there were some things, but when we started the company, so because all the co-founders came from Asian Paints, we were there while putting up this factory at Rohtak. And
What
we,
led to the birth of the idea? How did all of you decide that let's start a company? Before you
okay.
answer the warehouse question, just give me a little bit of an idea of the birth.
Yeah, so two things. While we were putting up these factories, mammoth factories, and while we were running it, we realized that most of the automation equipments or robotics used to come from outside India or overseas market. We and every time we imported it, we felt that we can build it in India. What is that? And after running these systems and after seeing these systems how they perform, and as I was telling you, these equipments were not built for it, and because of they were built for Europe, etc. They also worked in Indian conditions with utmost care, but they were not built for Indian conditions. And we always felt there can be a company in India which can. So we tried to find as buyers of this technology. We did not get any reliable company. So at certain point of time, we decided how many years we will keep on crying on this fact. Let us do something on our own. So that was the trigger. But we also felt in 2016-17, e-commerce was booming in India, and we had seen what e-commerce had done elsewhere outside India in their warehouses, etc. And we felt that there can be a company which can be very successful if it starts its operation now. So that is why in 2016 we started. The other reason why, and I keep on saying this, is as a user of technology, uh, there were two things which were happening. And so, in robotics or in warehouse automation or factory automation, the world was moving towards in two directions. One direction was the conventional automation or fixed automation, wherein if you have put automation or robot, the system becomes rigid. So you have to do certain thing in a particular way, and then only you get the benefits out of it. So it is known as fixed automation, but it gives you speed, it gives you throughput, it gives you productivity, which is unmatched. And
Basically, the conveyor belt approach is fixed.
conveyor
There is
belt or shuttles or even ASRS cranes, because ASRS cranes runs on a rail and it cannot
so the
move
rail
out
is
of that rail.
it's
Yeah.
hard. It's a hard installation.
Yeah, it is a hard coded system
Yes, right,
in
right.
software terms.
Okay.
And then there was a new set of flexible automation, which was robotic automation, which was coming in the warehouse. It started by Kiva Robots, which was acquired by Amazon Robotics. And you see the self-lifting robots. You would have seen a lot of videos of those robots. And that is when, so those kind of robots started coming. And as a consumer, you wanted both these technologies, a certain set of technology for certain processes which required speed, and certain set of technology for flexibility. And there was not a single company in the world at that time which could do it. One company doing both the things, because then you have to interact. As in Asian Paints, we used to do, we have to interact with two set of companies, and then we used to integrate the software by putting our own effort and all those things. So we used to make it possible, but it was an effort, a lot of effort used to go. And we thought that there is a opportunity, and those companies who were into conventional automation, they were too arrogant to see this change happening. And those companies who were into robotic space, they felt that fixed automation is a dinosaur which will die its natural death, and it is our era, though they were only 3%, 4% of the whole automation. So none of them, none of these companies, and which is changing now, but at that time, just 7 years back, none of these companies were appreciating the technology which is there on the other side of that. And as a user of technology, we felt we need both. And I, along with all our co-founders, we realized, and we debated a lot. We used to debate a lot. And we felt if there is a company which solves this problem, it will be successful, not only in India, across the world. And that was the second trigger why we decided to put, we decided to start this company, Adverb. There was a third trigger as well, but yeah, that was personal to me, which was uh, I have been an engineer. I was an engineer throughout my career, and at Asian Paints, the management or the management at the time felt that I need to have exposure of managing people at scale as well. And there was this factory of ours which was in Chennai, and which was having this industrial uh, dispute problem. Or there was a strike which was there, and 350, 400 people were not coming to the job. So I visited there. So I was given this assignment to bring this factory again to the glory which it was. And I went there, spoke to everyone, was very transparent, gained their trust, got people back, and listened to them, addressed their concerns, got people back. I'm thankful that they trusted me. And we again started running the factory as it was in the past, and we really improved a lot. But I also realized this is what I will have to do more often wherever there is a problem. But I wanted to work more in engineering, and I believed I had hit that ceiling of engineering in a conventional company. So, yeah, these were the three reasons why we started. But the first two
Fascinating.
were the major one.
Okay. Okay. Interesting. And why warehousing?
Yeah. So, as I was telling you, we use robots in factories and warehouses at both these places. And we came from the background, all co-founders and myself, we came from the background where we could have done any kind of automation. So we were putting up the massive factories. So we knew how to handle liquid automation or powder automation, handling those materials. Finally, I was telling you this, when you see at any factory, when it is small or when it is minimum adequate design, it is more about processes, process of making shampoo, process of making soap, process of making, let us say, in food, it is a process of making biscuits or chocolates. But when you start talking about scale, it is never about that expertise you have already gained. It is always about material handling, whether it is liquid, whether it is solid, which is powder, or whether it is pallets and packaging material. How do you move these equipments, or how do you move these materials in different stages of production or in different stages of processing, or how do you quickly load it into truck? How do you unload it from the truck? So it becomes the problem of material. And at that time, we could have chosen any of these problem of material handling, whether it, and if we would have chosen liquid and powder, it would have been pure factory automation. We chose mostly the finished goods or the finished goods side because of two reasons again. One reason was this was a space. So what we realized was warehouses were becoming next factories. And there, when I say warehouses were becoming next factories, because their processes and systems were becoming very complex, because they wanted to different. Earlier, it was in a warehouse, it was pallet in and pallet out, or it was pallet in and case out. So, company, large FMCG players, uh, 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 to the kirana stores or mom and pop stores, there are 2
So
crores
a
of
case is smaller than a pallet. Like
yeah, case
a
is a
pallet will.
carton. Case is a
Okay.
carton. One
So
carton of soap, one carton of shampoo, etc.
yeah.
So, what used to happen is all these large FMCG players, when a kirana store used to order something, they used to push one carton of load. So they used to say, okay, I will send you this soap. Let us say some soap. I'm not naming it intentionally because some brand might take it otherwise. But there is soap X. And so if you want to have this soap X, you have to buy one carton of soap to all these kirana stores. And these kirana stores did not have the purchasing power. And therefore, one, they had in a, you just imagine a small mom and pop shop, kirana store, which is less than 300 square feet, 500 square feet place, and where he or she intends to keep 500 stock keeping units. When I say stock keeping units, what is a stock keeping unit? It is, so if it is a Lux soap, so Lux soap comes in 100 gram, 150 gram, 200 gram. So there are 3 SKUs. So typically a kirana store will have 600 to 1000 SKUs. And when the manufacturer forces Kirana store to buy one carton, that much space gets occupied in his area, in his small shop. And second, his money gets lost. That much you have paid for one carton, and you don't know when you will be able to sell one carton of soap. So, but with e-commerce, this was changing. This was changing significantly, and kirana stores were becoming demanding. And they say, if you can give the end customer one soap or two soap, why not us? You also, I am buying more than your end customer. Your end customer will buy two soaps in a month. I am buying two cartons of soap. So I need you to supply me two two soaps or four soaps or eight soaps every third day, every fourth day. So that was one thing which was happening. And I was explaining this pallet in and pallet out concept. So trees, and because the customers were becoming more demanding, and the systems were becoming very, very complex. And we thought, if we target factories, there are certain numbers of factories. But when we target warehouses, there are warehouses in the factory setup itself. So every factory has two or three warehouses. And there are consumer warehouse, which is not linked to factory at all. These are warehouses which is run by e-commerce retailers, traders, etc. So we have more chance of success. That was one reason why we chose
The
warehouse.
total addressable market is bigger. Because
Yes. And warehouses had this problem more. And we globally also we saw the so because factories have factories have huge number of processes and systems, and traditionally what happens is in each of these factories there will be certain set of people, 4 5 10 people who become expert, and they are expert, they know the processes and system but very well. But what happens is because they become expert, they are not open to new ideas that much. So they are respected for being expert in the ecosystem of their factory. And if they open themselves to questions, there will be other experts who come, and there lies the insecurity. And I have felt it many a times. And therefore, they don't change that much in factories. Whereas in warehouses, people are open because there are new challenges which is coming from the customer side. Their expectation is changing rapidly. And the first setup, so if there is a change in expectation from the customer, the first set of people who get affected is the consumer warehouse or so they have to deliver it in a particular way, etc. Okay, the product, if the product shape and size changes, then factory has to change. There they are open to, but processes wise they are not open. So that is why we said, okay, we will focus here more than on factories, which is changing right now. It is because we had this expertise of even factory, we are using that knowledge as well. But that was the second reason. And globally, we saw robotics getting the ability of the robotics is more in warehouses, and it is able to bring the return on investment quickly in warehouses than in factories. And therefore we chose warehouse. But as I said, that is changing, and even factories are getting automated. The people are becoming more open to the idea of robotics. Earlier, only So if you see the robotic space, there is three things: dull, dirty, and dangerous. There are these three kinds of jobs which are getting replaced by robots. The three Ds: dull, dirty, and dangerous. Uh, in India, even in India and elsewhere across the world, dangerous jobs were the first set of jobs uh, which were given to robots to perform. And even if it meant cost, uh, people invested in it. And therefore, when you said the general notion of a robot is a robot doing welding or painting operation or pressing operation in a car factory, these were dangerous jobs and these were dirty jobs. But today, the maximum usage of robot is for routine job, for dull job, where the only action every day you have to do is just movement of something from here to here or doing. And that is where in warehouses also it is becoming very common. And the acceptability is more of because you need productivity. So let us say a typical warehouse in of Amazon in US or in India, a person has in US person has to walk for 80 kilometers in a day for picking the operation. And in a manual warehouse, you get because so if someone has ordered for one toothpaste, one toothbrush, one shampoo, one soap, four items, the person has to travel for let us say 600 meters to get these four items and then pack it and send it. So, and there are several orders a person does. So, in a manual warehouse, a typical productivity which you get is 50 picks per person per hour or 100 picks per person per hour, depending on which industry you are working. So, if it is grocery, then it would be 75. If it is fashion, it would be 60. If you are batch picking, then 100, 125, etc., etc.
What
But
is
with
batch picking?
batch picking is you consolidate orders. So let us say you are a retailer, Reliance, and you have in 2 hours period, you have 500 orders that has hit your platform. Those 500 orders, you pick it in one go. So there are certain items which goes into 10 orders. So you don't have to walk to that place 10 times. You walk to that place only once and pick for all those 10 orders. So that is batch picking. But then once you have picked it, then you have to sort it according to order. So there is another step which gets added, but still you are more productive as a yeah. So with technology, with robotics, with fixed automation, shuttles, etc., you can go up to 1,000 picks per person per hour because for all the non-value added activities, which is the biggest non-value added activity in a warehouse is walking or finding the goods. So all those gets eliminated. So 55-60% of the work gets eliminated because there is something else walking for you or something else which is finding it for you, and that is robots. And therefore we say it is humans and robots which work together to bring value to the customer, which is those items which needs to be delivered in a particular way. So this all this 60-70% of the work is cut off. Now this is known as goods to person technology. But earlier, person used to go to goods for picking. Now goods is coming to the person and he just picks it. And goods does not fly and come to the person. You need a robot or a shuttle bring that goods to the person. So uh, yeah, I was answering this question. Anyway, I got diverted. I was answering this question why warehouse. So one of the reason was again warehouses were becoming new factories, and they were more accepted. And second, we felt there was huge opportunity in India and outside India, and the acceptability is more, so we can quickly solve these kinds of problems.
Okay, very interesting. When you say consumer warehouse, like a fulfillment center would be a consumer warehouse.
Yes, so there in warehousing there is a manufacturing warehouse, which is you store raw materials or packaging materials or finished goods, etc. So there are these three different kinds of warehouse in a manufacturing setup. Then a consumer warehouse, there are two different kinds of consumer warehouse. One is by the manufacturer. So let us say Asian Paints or Unilever or ITC or Dabur or Patanjali, they will have a warehouse in each of the major cities and to serve their customers. So their customers can be kirana stores, customers can be modern trade, which is the kirana organized. So Reliance Smart or Reliance Trends, etc. And so this is one kind of consumer warehouse. Then there is e-commerce consumer warehouse, which are of two different kinds. One is fulfillment center. So all retailers or e-commerce who are not the manufacturers, they don't keep single brand there. They keep items from all the brands. So whether it is different manufacturers, 100 manufacturers of a particular soap, so they will keep material from all these 100 manufacturers and also import it and keep it in their warehouses. So these are fulfillment centers. Then there are sortation centers. So these do not keep items there. So let us say you have ordered something, being in Delhi, you have ordered something from Amazon. Now, Amazon, you have ordered for 4 items. Now, two of the items are there in the Amazon warehouse in Delhi, and therefore they will serve it from there. But two items, one of them is it in Bangalore and the other is in Mumbai. So what happens to these two items is these two items gets packed in that fulfillment center of Mumbai or Bangalore and gets dispatched by a large truck, 9-tonner truck or 16-tonner truck, to the sortation center of Amazon in Delhi. So all these trucks bringing all the items from Mumbai and Bangalore comes to the sortation center. And at this sortation center, it gets sorted out. So from this Amazon warehouse in Delhi, it is serving, let us say, 150 pin codes or 200 pin codes in Delhi. So the items will get sorted according to pin code and then loaded in a small truck or a tempo. And that tempo then delivers the item to you. So this is another kind of warehouse where you don't store items, but you sort it. So these are known as sortation centers. And all these three different types of warehouses, one warehouse by a manufacturer near the consumption. So in India, there would be 35 cities where the population would be more than 1 million and the consumption is huge. So all these companies will have, all these manufacturers will have one consumption warehouse in these 35 cities. Then the retailers will have two kinds of warehouse. One is the fulfillment center, the other is sortation center.
Okay. So let's talk about 0 to 1 journey of Adverb. Now, how many of you quit Asian Paints? Oh,
Yeah, so we were total, we started with 6 people. So out of that,
wow.
in Asian Paints, we were, 3 of us were working and 3 had already quit Asian Paints and they were working for some other company. So Pratik was working for ITC and So they were working for some other company, but they were at Rohtak when we were building this factory. So we all six of us came together and we started this company. That time, so we started from two rooms actually, and that room also, one of my friend was it was his startup, and he had a spare room, and we rented that place. At that time, when we had started in our wildest dream, we didn't think that we will go beyond 50, 60 people. And uh, we at that time we thought, okay, we will do a turnover of 1,500 crores, and that would be it, because there would be no market for automation to that extent. But luckily for us, the market grew like anything. The other thing which we said to ourselves after 3 years of existence is whole world is our market. We should not restrict our market to India, and that changed everything. So again, I'll speak about it maybe at a later stage.
So,
As far as
what did you start with? Did you, because to start robotics, like start a business which is manufacturing and selling robotics needs a lot of capital, right? You have to do R&D, they have to set up manufacturing. It's not like, something which you can do third party manufacturing and easily just do branding and start selling. It's not that easy, right? Like,
yes. Yes. So we had some money which we had saved from our earlier job. We were well paid executive at that time. And second is, so when we started, uh, we uh, uh, we started with giving consulting. You are right. We did not have uh, the wherewithals to manufacture, but we always knew that we will manufacture. So 1 year in our journey, we said, okay, we will manufacture. So the initial thing was mostly consulting, or in some cases, we also imported certain equipment, and with our software, we started giving solution to our customers. But
this is called as a system integrator, right? Uh,
yes, yes,
so
exactly.
you
So
you
we
started as
started.
a system
Yeah,
integrator.
we
Okay.
started as a system integrator, wherein you buy equipments from various players and then you integrate it as a solution and give it to the end customers. So we started like that, and we started building our software. But at the same time, we always thought that we have to build our own R&D, our own equipments, our own manufacturing setup. So when I was leaving Asian Paints, I used to work for Mr. Jalal Dani. So Mr. Jalal Dani is a co-promoter of Asian Paints, and he also was head of HR and supply chain when I was leaving. So uh, he was kind to offer that. So he said, when I was leaving, whenever you need any help, just give me a call. I'm a call away. So at certain point of our journey, the first year we did around 1.5 crore turnover. And the next year, we started getting orders, and we thought that we will be able to cross 10 crore. Then we realized that we need manufacturing setup and we need to invest in R&D. But from the day one, we always wanted to be profitable. There was no way. So we believe that the customer should pay for the products which they are buying, and we cannot subsidize. Yes, R&D effort, etc., can come from investors' money, or manufacturing setup can come from. And for that, customer might not pay initially. And and then only a business is viable. When we needed money, I spoke to Jalad sir, and he invested around $1 million initially. And then when we decided to set up our own factory, because when we started manufacturing in a place, a contracted place, it was in Noida Sector 80 and Noida Sector 2. And that is when we had two small places, one 8,000 square feet, another 10,000 square feet. And we started doing R&D and manufacturing there. We felt if we have to attract good talent, and robotics is something which is sexy, but then it has to be in a place which arises inspiration in the people who are choosing this career. Because okay, robotics in universities gets taught to certain extent, but most of the people get interested, but because there was no company in India which was doing what we are doing today, uh, means most of the people left and did their PhD, MS from outside India and used to work in a robotics company outside. So we said we need a factory setup and a R&D setup, and then we again went to Mr. Chaladani, and he invested around 10 million US dollar, which was, and that is from that money we put up our first factory, which is Bot Valley in Sector 2, Noida. And then we started attracting really great talents. We used to, right from day one, one thing which we said is that we will build talent instead of buying talent. And and that was true for every space. So yes, robotics was a new space. So buying talent was difficult there. So we did not have option. But for other department functions as well, whether it is HR, accounts, marketing, etc., we said we will build talent instead of buying talent. So in fact, every year from the second year onwards, we started going to engineering colleges, 20 engineering colleges. We used to recruit 30 people, 40 engineering colleges, 45 people, etc. All people who were interested in robotics and wanted to build career in robotics. We said we will give them the opportunity, and together we will grow. So, and this was the start. The biggest, as I said, we started working with Amazon, Flipkart, uh, Unilever, and, Asian Paints, etc. So mostly e-commerce and FMCG companies. And at certain point of time, 80-90% of our business used to come from e-commerce, and rest from FMCG. And at that time, this was, I think, 2018 or 19, when Reliance decided to come in a big way in e-commerce. So till that time, they were the market leaders. They continue to be the market leaders in offline retail, where for fashion they had Reliance Trends, and for grocery it was Smart. Now it is Fresh, and for digital it was Reliance Digital, etc. But online space, they were not that present, except Agio to some extent. And they wanted to launch GeoMart in a big way. Though Flipkart and Amazon were present everywhere. So GeoMart at that time decided to put 8 warehouses, mostly in metros and large cities. and there were around 15 suppliers who were called, and each of them gave presentation. And because we learned or we studied their system in and out, we understood the problems because we were users of this technology. I think we were able to present a better vision for automated warehouses for GeoMart. And that was a turning point for us. And we got in one go order for 8 warehouses.
What was the value of that order?
Yeah. So individually, it was in the range. I would not give you exact. Yeah, but in the range, it was in the range of 10 crores, and then you had 8 of them. So
Wow.
it was a big order for us, and we didn't
Yes.
even know how we will fulfill. And
Yeah. Obviously.
we figured it out, and we did at a speed I don't think any international player could have done that.
How did you manage it? Because you were such a small company at
Small
that time.
company. Yeah.
And I mean,
Yeah,
this would
but
have been more than your combined turnover of all the previous years.
yes,
That
which
one
is right.
order. Yeah.
Yeah, which is right. And okay, these orders did not come in 1 year. We were told there will be 8, but
Okay.
it came in 2 years.
Okay.
But the other thing was, see, in Asian Paints, one factory we used to invest 400 crores, 600 crores. So we had the experience of managing projects like, it is not that we did not have the experience of managing large projects. But yeah, you are right. How do you manufacture it? How do you do R&D? Because some of the products at that time was in R&D state. So, and yeah, we gave the products. We failed as well. We quickly changed most of those failed products, and we managed the thing. So, uh, and I think we did a decent job in those projects, and they became more confident on our ability. And the speed was important for Reliance. And I think we were the only one we were able to meet that kind of speed. So,
Did you manufacture everything you supplied to Reliance, or it was like a bundling? Some things were
yeah, so
imported.
60-70% of that we manufactured on or everything. 30% it was still system integration, wherein we bought certain equipments from Japan and integrated it into our system. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. How did your manufacturing evolve?
Yeah,
What was
so
the first product you started manufacturing? How did your product portfolio increase? How did your manufacturing practices evolve?
yeah, so as I said, we came from manufacturing setup, but the and in fact, myself, Pratik, and Beat, all three of us were from manufacturing setup and had led manufacturing production, core production. Forget about core production and engineering. We had led production planning process and production itself. But we were producing paints or Pratik, after Asian Paints was heading ITC, FMCG manufacturing. And so 2 of their factories. So he knew how to produce soaps and shampoos and those kind of things. But here it was equipment. So we had to learn. Being a user of technology and being a producers of technology, of these kind of technology, very different thing, which we learned later on. Okay. As a user, we always felt, we can make it, we can make it easily. But when we started making it, we realized कि अच्छा अपने यहाँ तो bearing भी यहाँ से import करना पड़ता है. ठीक है. But yeah, those were the challenges and the learnings. We started manufacturing. So from simpler products, we started from conveyors, then shuttles. And as I said, most of our R&D kept on happening with the need of a customer. So Reliance said they want to put very automated warehouse and they need carton shuttles, and we built those carton shuttles in 4 months period. So the first time we heard it in one of the meeting, he said, okay, there is an opportunity. By that time, there was no RFQ, nothing, etc. We started building it. We said, okay, by the time they come up with RFQ, we should have a product ready. And we had our first product ready. So when they came up with the RFQ, we said, we also build this. They said, "Oh." And then we called them to our sector to factory. It is factory come office, come head office, come everything. And they were there, we were testing our curtain settles, and they said, okay, great. But they were evaluating several other global players. And luckily for us, all these global players were packed with orders, and they said 12 months, 16 months, 18 months. Reliance cannot wait. That is the Reliance is about speed. And we said, we will give you in 4 months. So, and we also said, this is our first product. It is possible that we might have problem, but we will correct it, whatever problem are there. And we were able to, same with Unilever. Unilever wanted to put up a warehouse in Chennai, and they wanted to experiment wherein instead of going through the distributed to the mom and pop shop or retailer, they wanted to serve retailer within 24 hours. So once they order it, within 24 hours, they should be able to serve, and that too in items, not cases, which I was explaining to you earlier. And that warehouse we set up in 6 to 7 months, just before COVID, we set up. So that was not possible for any player, any foreign player at that time. And we grabbed all these opportunities wherever we were near to the customers. We heard their requirement, and whenever we said, okay, this customer is getting convinced with a certain kind of technology, let us quickly build it. And we quickly built that. There was a normal R&D also going on, which was mostly for mobile robot, for 100 kg payload, 200 kg payload. I remember the GP range of robots that we have, which is for sortation purposes, both tabletop and floor mounted. Amazon India had come to us and they said, okay, Amazon US cannot build robots for Amazon India because they are already busy building it for US and Europe. So can you build these robots for us? And we said, okay, we will build these robots. So we built these robots very quickly as a period. They never bought it because they never got the clearance from Amazon US.
What is this robot exactly?
So
that you
it
built
is
for Amazon?
it is a zippy robot. So it is if you it is a sortation robot. So what you do is you as an individual marry a parcel to a robot, and these parcel then robot takes it to a tube or the pin code, and it sorts according to pin code. So I was explaining about the sortation centers. So mostly these robots get used in sortation centers. Imagine themselves have these robots, but they have one particular kind of robot. Later on, we built these robots for Amazon. Amazon never bought it, but then Reliance bought it from us, and then Landmark bought it, Adidas bought it. There were several companies who started buying it, and now it is one of our popular product both in US and Europe, apart from India. So yeah, the product kept on getting at based on the requirement of the customers. We were quick. We quickly built these products, and we were able to offer it to the customers. Again, coming back to your question about manufacturing setup. So, as I said, we came from manufacturing background. And when Bot Valley, so Uttar Pradesh government had come up with a startup scheme where they were allotting land for manufacturing for startups. We applied for it. We never thought we will get it. We thought in these things, usually anyone who has contact only gets it, etc. But we were interviewed, and the person was very professional and kind. And he said, okay, you will build robots. No one in build robot. He said, no, we will build robots, and we will not only build. Till that time, we had realized that we need to control everything. Means electromechanical portion, the electronics component. So we build all the motherboards, all the driver cards, everything, input IO cards, etc., everything on our own. And because unlike China or Germany or Japan, there is a ecosystem there. So if robot requires 200 items, you build 20 items and 180 items, you have ecosystem. You have a company which is building it at a scale, and it can give you at a price, and it can customize it for your need, etc. If you promise him certain volume. In India, there was no ecosystem. There is an ecosystem for cars. There are ecosystem, but for robots, etc., where the volume, you can never produce 1 lakh uh, robots or 1 lakh, at least not now, though we have built a capacity. I'll talk about it. So we said we will have a different approach if we have to give quality product to our customers. So instead of going to a very small player or becoming uh, uh, the most neglected customer of a large player, we will build it on our own. So we, for this factory, we bought SMT line again from the $10 million investment that we got from Mr. Jalal.
What is SMT line?
SMT line is surface mounting technology. So your mobile phone gets manufactured. So mobile phone would have 2 cards. Okay. And each of these cards will have components on both sides. So there is a PCB card, and on that card, you have to mount components. It can be capacitor, inductor, processor, camera, etc., etc. That mounting happens by, so if you have to do manually, then you do soldering. Yeah. And if you have to do by a machine, then it happens on a SMT machine, because these machines can mount 50,000 parts, 1 lakh parts per hour. And that is how your mobile phone gets manufactured. Okay. So we have bought this SMT line from Panasonic for building motherboards for our robots, for building motherboard for our shuttle systems, for building driver cards, etc. And it did help us. So earlier we took this decision because there was no ecosystem of robotics, and we said we will build everything on our own. So out of, as I was explaining, 220 components, we started building 180 of them on our own. there is this electrical optical systems, which is the sensors, etc. There, India does not have the capability, and we also did not have the capability. So those are the components which we decided to import from Europe or Japan, etc. But all other components we decided to build on our own, and it helped us greatly during COVID times. And I'll give an example. So there was this conveyor cart on. It is actually a motor driver card for DC motors, and we used to import it from Japan. And when COVID hit and electronics shortage after that, so this company said, we can give you in 9 months and 12 months. And in India, the customer wanted the end product made out of that card in 5 months and 6 months. So we said, okay, we will build it on our own. And we put a R&D team. We quickly built it, tested it, and started doing it in India in 4 months and 5 months. So, some decisions which you take for reason X, later on, that makes sense even for reason Y. And sometimes you feel, okay, it was a strategic decision. Yeah. And it did help us. Having control on the full manufacturing is helping us now. And in
So
being
one is
competitive,
having control gives you a reliable supply chain. You're not dependent. But does it also give you products that perform better, or
of
products
course,
that are cheaper to build? Or
yeah. So both the things. See, earlier, let us say for a particular motherboard or particular industrial PC, I used to buy from mostly these are system suppliers from Taiwan or Germany or Japan. Now they also would build their industrial PC from processors of Intel and Nvidia and Qualcomm, etc. Now I directly talk to Intel and Qualcomm and Nvidia and know what is available, what is latest, what is best suited for my product, my set of product, and what is going to come. So if you see any industrial electronics, and that is why industrial electronics has, if you see earlier, industrial electronics used to lead, consumer electronics lead to follow, used to follow. So anything which you had in industrial electronic, after 5 years, it used to come in consumer electronics. But
which era is this? I don't remember such an era.
no, it was just 10 years back. Just 10 years
Okay.
back.
Okay.
Now, what has happened is consumer electronics is
It's the leading edge.
leading, and with Apple, because consumer electronics is putting so much of money into it, the R&D in reducing it and the volume. Because of that volume and R&D money, the cost has come down like anything, and consumer electronics is leading, and industrial electronics is just following it. So the mobile phone has a IMU sensor. IMU sensor is the sensor which, when you change the orientation of the mobile phone, the screen changes.
Okay.
It is because of IMU. So IMU understands that the mobile orientation has changed and therefore the screen needs to change. So that is the hardware. Now this IMU sensor is also required for robots and drones because it needs to know the orientation. So the IMU sensors which are there in some of these mobiles are much more reliable and powerful than industrial IMU sensor that you get. And these IMU sensors would cost you 400 and 600 rupees. And the IMU sensor for industry in the name of industry would cost you 30,000 or 40,000 rupees. So, yeah, there are several such examples I will give. And so I can keep on giving. But our the barrier of barrier which was there, and because of which we used to interact with Advantech or Aeon or etc. for industrial PC. Now we directly interact with Intel and Qualcomm and NVIDIA for their processing power. And that the motherboard which I have built, I have built it in such a way that I can change any of these suppliers whenever I need to, whenever they have a better product and whenever they have a better pricing. And for my and all other the whole architecture is in such a way that it suits my application, which is robotics. So yeah, we gain in three things. Being the best because I am using the latest thing, and one of the things. So all these industrial electronics suffered after COVID because of two reasons. So one, everything used to come from China, etc. The other thing was that all these industrial electronics, if it had 100 parts, 90 parts were modern and which were new, and the technology changed and these people changed. 10 parts, they never changed it. And these were 20-year-old technology and 30-year-old technology because they did not give any advantage to the customer or to this company, and these were priced at 1 cent, half cent, etc. Now, these were the parts which were not available. So those 80 parts. So when we built everything on our own, we used, even for these 10, 15 parts, we used the modern things which were available. So it gives a huge advantage in terms of, not only in terms of availability, but also the quality and where the technology is going, being modern, and cost. So we are able to reduce the cost to the end customer. And yeah, that is the reason why we will continue to invest.
Okay. Your manufacturing would have started with like a hand assembled kind of
Yes.
so like your first few models would have been like hand assembled. How did that evolve?
So even today, most of them. Apart from electronics, most of them is assembled by hand. Okay. We have in our new factory. So after Bot Valley, we put Bot Verse, which is world's largest factory at a single location for mobile robots, from where we can build 1 lakh robots a year. Though right now we are using only 10%, 15% of that capacity. We decided to build this because we said if we have to. So 2 years back, Reliance invested in us. They invested around $130 million US. And with that, they also...
Did they like acquire you out like a
yes? So
very significant majority?
They own more than, so they have significant majority. They own more than 50% in the company today. With that investment, they actually blocked 30-40% of our capacity. It was a strategic investment for them, and where they wanted to secure automation for themselves, which they encouraged us to go. So by that time we had 100% subsidiary in Singapore, looking after Southeast Asia. So they encouraged us to have 100% subsidiary across the world, which always was in our mind. So now, as I was telling you, that the whole world was our market, is how we were thinking. So We had 100% subsidiary in US, in Europe, in Australia, and with that investment, we also decided to build world's largest factory at a single location for robots, which was Botworth. And now that is operational. There, we have put robots building robots. So we have used our
Wow.
own technology uh, to build a robot. So whether it is in storage of raw materials, whether it is delivery of raw materials, whether the assembly line, it is a human robot collaboration at its best. So earlier we used to make GP kind of robot, one GP with two people in 8 hours and 10 hours. Now we have built this line where every 7 minutes I can have a new GP. Every
Wow.
15 minutes I can have a new quadrant. So these are fully automated lines. As I said, I used our own technology to build our own technology.
Oh, what are your major product lines? So Zippy is the shuttle
Zippy,
which
no, Zippy is
goes.
the robot which is for sortation. Dynamo is a fully autonomous robot which does not need a QR code for working. It needs a LiDAR sensor. It is the same as autonomous car. It is a technology which is inspired by autonomous car, but in a more controlled environment of warehouse instead of roads. And
And
then we
what is it like an arm which picks up things?
we also have a cobot that is cobot collaborative robot, which we have not launched it yet. We will be launching very soon.
What is Dynamo then? What does it do?
Dynamo also transports the material from one place to another, mostly in a factory setup.
Like
Uh,
pallets or crates?
Pallets or right now we have built a dynamo which can lift 2500 kg payload, 2.5 tons of pallet for solar manufacturing. From 100 kg to 2500 kg. Then we have quadron. We have multi-pro, which is mother and child shuttles. Again, mostly shuttles, ASRS, cobots. We build all kinds of robots. In fact, next year we will be launching. Right now, all our robots are for supply chain application. We have been doing research for last 1.5 years, and we will be launching our first set of robots for medical application, wherein we have built exoskeleton, we have built robots for imaging technologies, ultrasound, etc. We have built robots for also haptic sensors for controlling various kind of robotic application. We will also
This
launch
you're
our
saying like the surgery can be done by a surgeon using a device
robot.
instead of
Yeah, so
actually.
we that is one area where we have avoided. We said we will not build robots for surgery application, but any non-surgical application, which is let us say imaging, which is let us say when you are a stroke patient, you need to lift your hand, so robot assists you in lifting your hand, etc. So those kind of robots. Healthcare is a big outside India. It is a big market, and where there is not enough radiologists, not enough nurses, not enough the doctor who helps you, uh,
Physiotherapist.
physiotherapist.
Okay. So these robots will be able to replace,
Assist.
assist
Assist. I have not
physiotherapists
say
and
replace. So
radiologists.
let us say a physiotherapist today, he can attend to one person at a time, and he spends 1 hour. At the same, with robot, he can attend to 30% in that 1 hour time.
Wow.
He is still is needed to overlook and see things. But these robots are very collaborative in the sense that they understand that people are feeling discomfort or uneasiness in certain kind of movement, and therefore it stops. And then, but that movement has to be done. So then the doctor sees and tells robot, okay, if not this, then you do this. And then a robot starts assisting the person in doing the other kind of exercise. So these are some of the applications where robots are getting used or will get used massively in the healthcare.
Uh,
We
it's a little surprising to me that you didn't do something adjacent. Like an adjacent opportunity would be to start doing for manufacturing, like what we
we
see in a
we
car
we
factory.
we
Uh,
are so cobots is for manufacturing, and we have done some application there. But we also felt the healthcare is something which is going to become big because with growing population, mostly in developed economies, and non-availability of nurses and radiologists, etc., you have to depend on technology, and we felt there is a need, and
so
there is
there's a
huge
bigger
market.
opportunity over
Yes,
there.
and
Okay.
there the technology is more complex, and therefore, because the technology is more complex, the number of companies which would get into these technologies would be lesser. So there is a barrier, and yeah, we wanted to move fast in that space as well. So,
And what is the way in which you went global? Like, uh, how did you expand overseas? Was it like, did you set up sales offices in each of these places and hire salespeople? And like,
yes,
what is the way in which you're
yeah.
building your global revenue?
Let us currently 70% of our revenue comes from India and 30% from overseas market, which in next 4 5 years will change significantly. So in India, India will contribute to 40% of our revenue and 60% will be from overseas market. And we will grow, we'll double our revenue every year and to reach that position. What we have done in each of these places is we said we have to be present locally, and we have to understand and hear from the customers at that place and build our product accordingly. So let us say US. So from US, we look after North America and South America. So we put up our office there. We have also put up an R&D facility in US. So we have two offices there. And then we hired CEO, we hired the chief revenue officer, the sales team, the sales support team, the project team, the after sales team, HR, or admin function, etc. So we have a team of 22 people there in US. For EMEA, Europe, Middle East, and Africa is looked after by our European office. So there, our headquarters is in Netherlands. And again, we had a CEO, Peter Fenestra, is the CEO there. He had huge experience. In each of these places, we hired a CEO who had huge experience in this space. And so Peter then hired his team of people for sales, for project management, for after sales, HR, admin, etc. In Netherlands, then we have branch offices for EMEA. Europe itself is a big place, and then Middle East and then Africa. So We have a branch office in Germany. We have a branch office in UK. We have a branch office in Denmark, looking after various places in Europe. We have a branch office in Dubai uh, for the Middle East market. Similarly, in Australia, again, we did a very big project there, and we have there is sales people. There are after sales. There are project people there. So every place, that is how we went about doing it, and we said there will be project team there, but the project will be assisted from India. So there is a central project management office which assists the project team of that uh, geography. But the contact with the customer happens from the local project team. So if it is Europe, they will manage the customer, and they will also interact with India office to get all the equipments on time, and also people, etc. Needs to go from here for final commissioning. Some of the experts are there in the US and Europe office itself. So this is how we went about doing.
Which is the one project that you're most proud of? Like a flagship project that.
There are two, three projects. I will not say one project. So one of them is for MERS that we have done it in Australia. It is a great a project for us. The other is for lens cut that we have done in India. The third project is for Reliance Sultan. Sorry, it is for fashion. These are the three projects till now, but there are several other projects. We have done a project for Flipkart, which is a massive project in Haringkata. We have done two more projects for Reliance for different applications. So, and each of these have been unique. We have done a project for Unilever, which was a start for us as far as a fully automated system is concerned. And that is another great project for us as a young startup.
So your revenue, how much of it comes from like an upfront cost of product, and how much comes from like a annual maintenance cost? I'm assuming that this would be like a mix of not just a product, but product plus service. Like you would need to customize it and maintain it and upgrade the software as per their requirements or whatever. I mean, because automation is complex and
Yeah.
workflows change, then there is need to change the way automation works and all of it. So what is the like the service revenue? What is the product revenue?
See, currently the after sales and service revenue is very less because our equipment base is less. So it is to the tune of 5%, but in the next 5 years, it would go from 5% to 15% is what we see. Now, many of these projects are also under warranty. Usually, it is 1 year or 2 years. So, and only after that you start getting the revenue from annual maintenance contract or after sales. So, right now it is only 5% of the total revenue. But you'll also have to appreciate the fact that we are growing rapidly. So our revenue itself grows rapidly. So, and we are a startup, and therefore it is globally. If you see most of the companies who are in this space, their 25% of their revenue comes from AMC and spare parts, etc. We will not be 25% because as a company, we have decided that we will not overcharge. There are many companies in the world which sells you capex at a lower price and then makes money in spare parts. And we were customers at a certain period of time, and we said that is something we will never do to our customers. So our revenue will be lesser, but it will definitely grow from where it is right.
What do you expect to close this year at? How much revenue will you close this
So
year?
last year we did around 450 crores. This year we will do 600 crore plus.
Wow.
Yeah, we have to see.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. You know, I have very rarely interviewed founders where there were six people who started together. How did you make that succeed? Because there's so many egos to balance and match, and six co-founders sounds very unwieldy.
We are right now only four of us. So
Okay,
the
okay,
number have decreased, but yeah, both people decided to pursue their interest at certain period in that growth of the company. But I'll tell you, all six of us, we used to work at the same place. And all these people reported to me at certain period of time.
so the trust
So,
was already there.
yeah, so trust was there. Some sort of hierarchy was already set up.
Yes,
We were
right,
equals, but uh, we were not equals. So in certain
right.
decision making, they were kind enough to give me that leeway that
Mm,
yours will be the last word. And yeah, so, and we have been friends. I think we will always remain as friends more than anything else. And we are, for most of us, the purpose of creating a company like this is much bigger than the ego that we have. If we are successful in building a great company, which we always dreamt of when we were at Asian Paints, when we used to visit these companies outside India, that will be a great life lived,
mm,
and that is something which motivates all of us.